Irish War of Independence started in 1918 to 1919, and Britain had a pretty strong hold on Ireland. There were military bases all over the place, there was poor treatment of Irish Catholics, and Ireland was essentially in economic ruin. To get out of this rut and from under the iron hand Britain ruled with, Ireland decided to proclaim independence. And through this, they created their own government, and they called it the Sinn Féin. Now, Britain obviously wasn't too happy about this, so they decided to wage war. The two sides were the IRA, which was short for Irish Republican Army, and the British side was comprised of many small factions. The IRA was outnumbered significantly, having only 15,000 untrained soldiers and the British having 42,100 killing machines. The IRA was comprised of regular civilians like you and me, fed up with being treated poorly. These farmers, peasants, whatever, they left their families and took their sons to fight for Ireland's freedom. Because they were just regular civilians, they weren't trained, so they used guerrilla warfare tactics, which are like a big game of hide and seek, except you're dead before you do the seeking. So, to get things started, Ireland issued a proclamation, essentially stating that they were claiming independence, they deserved their freedom, and that Britain should leave them be and let them live very happily on their own. Now, the leader of the IRA was a man named Michael Collins, who was essentially the brains behind the IRA's operations. He was the leader, and he disclosed intelligence locations and appointed officers. Now, the fighting really didn't kick off until 1920, when the dreaded Bloody Sunday happened in Dublin. The IRA killed 19 British intelligence officers acting as civilians living in Dublin houses and hotels. In retaliation, the British forces fired into a crowd of unarmed civilians, killing 13 and wounding 65, which sparked major conflict between the two sides until July 1921, when the two sides unfortunately reached a glorified staring contest, also known as a stalemate. To end it all, they created the Anglo-Irish Treaty, which states that Ireland would be able to rule itself, it could have its own army to protect itself, and could have its own prime minister. However, Ireland in its entirety must remain a commonwealth of Britain and Northern Ireland, which was mostly Unionists and fought on the side of British, and that belonged to Britain. The treaty was quickly signed, resolving the war and creating peace, at least for now. The Irish Civil War was on its way, but that's another story for another day.